Welcome back, everybody. Today we're gonna be smoking up a chuck roast to make some delicious tacos. We're gonna be using very simple ingredients. We don't need a whole lot for this. All I got is a chuck roast, some seasoning, and just a couple other ingredients. Very simple recipe, so let's get into it. So to start this dish, I have a 4-pound chuck roast here. I went to the butcher and I asked them to cut me a center piece about 2.5 inches. This is a nice big roast. All I'm gonna do to this is just season it with just a simple salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder rub. And this is going to come out fantastic. We're gonna hit a little bit of smoke, and we're gonna do something extra at the end of this. But we're gonna cook this down nice and tender. So I have 1 bar of achiote paste. Now I'm not gonna use this whole thing. This whole thing can actually marinate up to about 6 pounds. So we're gonna be using about 1/3 of this. Achiote paste is basically a paste it's got a little bit of natto seed, some garlic, other spices in there. Adds a really good color and adds some good flavor. Now to break down the achiote paste, we're gonna be using a little bit of beef broth along with white distilled vinegar. Just probably a couple tablespoons really. And then the rest we're gonna be using the beef broth to kind of mix in once our chuck roast is completely cooked. My main notes when I cook any Mexican food, it's gotta have salt, it's gotta have garlic, and it's gotta have onion. Now I'd like to add some tomato to this, but no worries, we got that achiote paste, so it's gonna come out nice. All right, so we have a pretty big piece of meat, as you can see right here. So I'm gonna hit it with just a binder of just a little bit of canola oil, a little bit of cooking oil, just to kind of let all the spices and the salt and black pepper to kind of just stick to everything. So now we're just gonna season liberally. Now this is a big piece of meat, so don't worry about over seasoning. It's got a lot to season. And don't forget the sides, folks. Just pat everything in. As you can see, got a nice thick piece of meat here. Go ahead and hit the sides. Same thing with this other end. Don't be shy with it, folks. Same with this side, just slather just a little bit of oil. Only got this little bottom piece right here to give it some love. Just like that, folks. I'm gonna get a little bit of more black pepper on here. Let me shake this up. There we go. Pick up all the seasoning that you have. We can put that on the sides. We wanna make sure all the seasoning stays on here. All right, our chuck roast is nicely seasoned, so I'm gonna let this sweat out for about 15 minutes. I'm gonna go get a smoker fired up. To start our cook, I got about 3/4 of a chimney of mesquite lump charcoal. And we're gonna get this lit. So I'm gonna let this sit for like about 15-20 minutes just to get fully ignited. And once we get our temperature to about 275-ish internally in the cooking chamber, then we'll start closing this up and get some food on. So now that we have our charcoal lit, we're gonna go ahead and close this lid. Got the vents wide open, smokestack wide open. We're gonna just let this thing heat up. So we have our smoker up to temp. It's reading about a little over 275 on the thermometers up there, but got a range, it's probably about 275, around that range, 270 at the grate level. So got our chuck roast on, just close this up. All right, so now that we have the chuck roast on, we're running at about 275 degrees, a little bit above on these thermometer probes, but we got some lump charcoal in there. I'm actually gonna throw in a chunk of hickory wood, and we're gonna try to maintain this temperature to about 275 degrees. Now, once that lump starts to die down a little bit, I'll start using wood splits from there on. All right, so it's been about 2 hours. Whoa, doesn't look too bad. Okay, it seems like our bark is set. A little bit of fat rendering right there. Now, so it's been 2 hours. Let's see what our temperature is. Just kind of get an idea where we're at. Yeah, about 140, it's close to 150. About 150 right there. I think we're gonna be a little behind back here. Oh no, surprisingly, it's a little bit higher. Okay, so I have a spray mixture here. It's 1 cup of beef broth with a 1/4 cup of white distilled vinegar, along with the remaining of water up to about 2 cups. So we're gonna go ahead and just spritz a little bit, keep things nice and moist. Okay, so at this point, I'm gonna check it every hour. Already got some good color on there. That's smoke penetrated. That's what we're looking for. Things are looking great. Bark's nice and set. So all we're gonna do is just gonna continue on a little bit more. I'll check and see where it's at in about an hour. Once it hits about 175 degrees or so, we'll give it a wrap. So we'll see you then. All right, so it's been our 3rd hour. Got some nice bark forming. So let's check some temperatures. If we're close to about 170, close to about 170 there, 180. So I think right now is a good time for us to wrap. We're a little cold on this spot, but makes sense. This smoker is usually cooler right here, but everything back here is in the close to the 170s. This was like around 180. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. All right, look at our chuck roast. So all I'm gonna do is just hit this with just a little bit of beef broth. Nothing special, folks. Just about a 1/4 cup of beef broth just to moisten things up. And we'll just lightly spritz right there on top. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. Nice and tight. All right, she's going back on the smoker until she's nice and tender, probing about 203, 205. I'd say about there. Then we'll let it rest. All right, so we're gonna take our achiote paste. Now this whole bar will marinate about 6 pounds of meat. After cooked, that chuck roast is probably gonna be about 2 pounds. It was 4 pounds starting off. So after it's cooked, you're probably looking about close to 2 pounds. So we'll take about 1/3 of this just to marinate it, or finish off seasoning it. Okay, so I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of white distilled vinegar. I'm gonna start breaking this up. See how it's already getting that nice bright color? That's because of the annatto seed. Okay, now we're gonna be adding in just a couple drops here and there of beef broth. Just wanna break up everything. It smells really good. That vinegar acts as a flavor enhancer, so it's gonna make everything pop nicely. We'll add a little bit more beef broth. Now the only thing that we're gonna be doing to finish this off is we're just gonna be adding salt. But we're gonna get our beef out and we're gonna start shredding it. And then we'll add this to there, throw it back on and give it a couple minutes just for this to soak in. And we're pretty much set. As you can see, that thing just completely just melted down. Look at this. Just pull apart tender. So I'm gonna go ahead and shred this and we'll get it all marinated and seasoned up. So we have our pan with a little bit of the juices. Now we're gonna add in our shredded meat that we just pulled up. Man, this stuff is tasty. Just needs a little bit more salt. We're gonna get it there. Now we're gonna pour in a little marinade here. Now we wanna cook this down because it's gonna have that vinegar, that raw vinegar. So we're gonna put it in just for a couple more minutes just to cook down some of that vinegar. So really all we gotta do at this point, just season with salt to taste. Mix that in. Here, I'm gonna give it a taste before we throw it back in the smoker. We're gonna just let this go for about 5 minutes or so. Perfect. Perfect. So, this is going back in the smoker. I'll see you guys at the Blackstone, heating up some tortillas, making some tacos. Now, I let this rest for about another, I'd say 10 minutes. It's already pretty much done. But when I took this off, this thing was oozing and bubbly. Let me stir this up. This got a really nice color. Look at that meat. Really good. Really delicious. I tried a piece and you're not gonna hold me back from trying a piece, let me tell you. This smells really, really delicious. So I got all of our condiments and I'm gonna heat up some tortillas and we're gonna start making some tacos. All right, so we have our heated up corn tortilla. Lay down some of our smoked barbacoa. Now when I make my tacos, you've seen me do this before. I'll lay down the meat, top it with a little bit of salsa. This is a little bit of a red salsa that I like to make on a regular basis. Get a nice serving of that salsa right there. Now this one's probably gonna be for my wife. She likes pickled onions. Now this was my last video that I just did on Wednesday. You could check that out. But yeah, I'll leave this at the end of the iCard. That way you can check out this recipe. Very simple. If you don't make your own pickled onions, you should. It's really easy to do, very flavorful. Finally, a little bit of juice of lime. So this one's for the wife, folks. So I'm gonna pass this on to our camera person. Cheers, my love. Okay, got my tortilla. Lay down a nice, just give a nice little healthy portion of some meat right there. As you can see, that meat looks nice and beautiful. Again, top it with some red salsa roja. Now, other than my wife's taco, I like to top mine with the onion and cilantro. Some people might not like the cilantro, but to me, I like to keep it simple and traditional. Then finally, just a kiss of lime. All right, folks, a little bit of love, a little time, and just a little bit of care. Got some delicious tacos here. Cheers, y'all. It's just a symphony of flavors in your mouth. That meat is flavorful. It's packed with flavor, seasoned perfectly, and then you get everything in the taco. The little bit of that salsa, the lime, onion, cilantro. Calm down, killer. He's hungry too. Cheers, y'all. This is it, y'all. Let me tell you, these tacos are fantastic. You really gotta try the barbacoa like that. Really good stuff. You guys gotta try this recipe. Now I got some kids to feed, so you know I gotta start tending to some tacos. As always, I'll leave the recipe in the video description. That way you can try it at home. Now y'all be beautiful and God bless.